going on, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are in the pre-show right now. So we got 8 minutes until we officially start the show. And I just want to welcome. This is the first time that we have two wonderful women on our show. We've had one in the past, but we have Dalsimer and we have Christine Olivo, who is running for office. And we're going to talk about your candidacy, your campaign. Also, I want to do that at the top of the hour. So you can let us know the latest on those campaigns, but please say hi to the people. Allie first.
Well, hello to the people. I'm excited to be here and among good company with my good friend, Christine.
All right. We're here at Christine.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Hey, Allie. Sorry, I'm ready to party.
Yeah, that's fun. This is a party. This is a celebrate. All right.
And I got Miami. That's how we do.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I know Gabe is in Miami. Gabe is out there. Yeah. So, Gabe is back for the new year. This is his first show for the new year. So, Gabe, man, talk to the people.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, getting back in after a month-long cross-country, border trip, going to Mexico and California, Texas, Louisiana. So glad to be back and continue the progressive revolution.
All while driving in a van, not flying and spreading his Omicron everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Be clear about that, because
So he's polluting the air. Driving diesel.
Can't win.
So just to let y'all know that Gabe has a van. It's called Van Life.
Miami Van Fam on Instagram.
Yeah, and it's like you're living out of your van with your family, and it's not like a regular van. You've actually souped it up. We got to get maybe a picture of this.
It's pretty glamping. Yeah.
So it's almost like a mini home. What they call it, mini houses or mini?
Just like van conversions. Like an RV.
It's like a fake RV.
A fake RV.
So very real.
Yeah. So it's good to have you back, Gabe.
Glad
John, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. If you want to see bad politics, just start following what's going on in Virginia. You'll see what not to do on your first day. Virginia's gonna be the talk of the town pretty soon.
Man,
everything is going pretty bad. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that with Allie a little bit. With you and Allie, right?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I'm always coming here and complaining about Virginia, but I know it was bad, but I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. And it's only been day one, so.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Shout out to Kyle Johnson in the chat. Much love.
Okay,
go ahead, John.
Yes,
go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just opened up Twitter real quick, and it's like they had this CNN stuff that talks about. It said Democratic strategy. Paul Begala says that I think the problem with the Democratic Party right now is not that they have bad leaders; is that they have bad followers.
What?
You should. That's what he said. That's what he said on CNN. I was like,
ouch.
What that's something that maybe you can click for later, but
no calzone.
So they don't have bad leaders. They have bad followers.
I'll take your word for it. I don't think that's a no calzone, because I think we all disagree with that. Why would you blame the citizenry on bad candidates, right?
When we get to no calzone, you know how I always blame you guys. The vote blue, no matter who. I blame everybody.
Yeah, but see, we got to talk about that because anyway, we'll talk about that.
That's what I'm saying. Save it for later.
The next episode, because we really got to get into that as a crew. But
7:56.
All right, 7:56. We got 4 more minutes. I'm wondering if there's anything that we want to talk about before. Izzy, did I go to you yet?
Nope.
No. I mean, I'm doing good over here.
He's in New York City. Let us know how things over there in New York City, my man.
I mean, so we just had Winter Storm Izzy come through. That was pretty interesting, but it didn't really do anything for us.
4 inches?
I mean, not even. It snowed for a little bit, and then it just rained and all went away. But yeah, no, everything is good. John sent out a link to a video of Eric Adams getting booed in Madison Square Garden, which I thought was awesome. Knick fans doing the right thing, booing our own mayor. That was great. So that kind of made my
bad
day.
Followers.
Yeah, the bad followers, exactly. Yeah. The ones wanting to curse him the fuck out,
We love to boo people in New York City, so we'll boo the mayor. It doesn't matter.
We boo you when you deserve it. That's what I'll
that's
say.
the truth. That's the truth. All right,
Let me show
this Biden clip then. While we right before we get the show started,
start off hot.
Yeah, let's go here and start it here.
Assassination did not have the, but even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did. But even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
All right, so I had to play it twice for the people in the back because I'm like, what? And I think I heard Kamala say, Did you guys see?
Don't call me crazy, but I would agree with him.
No, you're crazy.
You're crazy.
You know why? You know why? You know why? You know why? Social media.
Yeah, but the reason. So what I would say is, I wasn't born back then, right? I wasn't around back then, so I can't say what the climate was like when Dr. King was killed. But what I would say is that even if you did actually believe that, don't say it. Like, just don't say it. Like, there is really no reason for him to have come out and done that.
What's the context, though?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. What's the
that's the only other thing. Because if it was just like a random, like, then I definitely agree with Izzy. But if what was the question that led to that response?
And that's actually why those who watch Case Study QB, a lot of times when I do clips, I like to give full concepts, even though a lot of people might be bored by having those full 3-minute, 4-minute clips. But I like to give a good minute before and a good minute after so that we can get the breadth of what was being said. And yeah, definitely this is not my clip, so I don't know what the context was before that. But let's just judge it on its face, right? I think Martin Luther King's assassination affected a ton of people. Here's a leader. I mean, not to disparage George Floyd, but here is a leader of a movement who was in the process of doing super big things, even bigger things if he were to stay alive. Who knows where this country, where this world would be if he were to continue living. So I think just that alone. Go ahead, Allie.
Yeah, well, there's a big difference between, your point about social media. That's awareness, right? There's a big difference between more people knowing about something and it being more known by a lot of people, which is absolutely true, versus the actual impact of the event, right? And I think I'm with you, Case, in that the impact of King being assassinated. In fact, I tweeted about this today. The King being assassinated, Bobby Kennedy, Fred Hampton, Malcolm X. I mean, all in that short period of time, collectively, was devastating, and not just in this country, but to social movements around the world. And it had a huge, huge ripple effect. So I think Biden is. I would disagree with the comment.
Yeah.
Hi.
All right. So
can I jump in quickly?
Yeah, real quick, and then we're going to start the show right after your comment.
I just want to say that Martin Luther King has a holiday. He has movies made. This man's assassination changed the trajectory of how we look at Black leaders altogether. I'm sorry. I don't think that's true. It changed my life. So
100%. All right. So we're going to start the show. It's 8:01. Let's get this thing going. Hey. It's kind of low though, Bendo, but it's all good. Welcome, everybody. This is Case Study QB, and we are the Political Junkies. Back at it again, and we got two wonderful guests, Dalsimer and Christine Olivo. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to have a great discussion. Just to let everyone know what is coming, we're going to have two no calzone questions. One is, should progressives claim the term moderate? Should they reclaim that term? And the second no calzone topic is, should progressives try to court mainstream media? That's the other thing. So we're also going to talk about Marianne Williamson, if she hasn't declared that she's running in 2024, but we're going to talk about a potential Marianne run, how that would look, and to discuss that. And then also Christine Help. I'm not even going to say her name, but it's Congresswoman-elect Sheila. I'm not going to say the rest of her name because I don't know how to say. I don't want to mess it up. I'm going to let Christine say the rest of her name.
McCormick.
There you go. She has insight into that campaign and help participated in it. So we're going to ask her about that campaign, which is a progressive that has just won a special election, which is awesome. I don't think this is celebrated enough in the left media, in the independent media. I've seen it a couple blimps here, but we need to celebrate another progressive getting into office and hopefully uplift them so that they can be that fighter that we need. And yeah, so let's go around the horn one more time. I know we did it in the pre-show, but I'll start with Ali. How you doing?
I am doing great. I'm super excited to be here with all these amazing
and you know what?
people.
Ali, give us an update on your campaign. Let's do that right now. How are you doing with the campaign? Yeah.
Sure. Campaign is going well. We're expanding. You know, now that we're in the new year, we're moving into obviously fundraising is in high gear because we have to plan for our field games. So, you know, bringing in staff and bringing in headquarters, and we're going to be collecting signatures and all that stuff. So we're expanding the team and implementing our plans, and you know, it's exciting. It's busy. I'm excited to get back out and meet people. Omicron's put a little bit of a damper on some of the field, you know, interactions because people really don't want you knocking on their doors right now. But it's the campaign's going well, and we're excited for the next few weeks.
Awesome. Sounds good. Now let's go to Christine. How is the campaign going? Let us know. Oh yeah, by the way, Allie's in Virginia and Christine is in Florida. Go ahead, Christine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christine Olivo. I am running for Florida's 24th district, I think. So that goes into how is everything going? We are redistricting, and we're sort of at a standstill. The only thing that we're focusing on is fundraising, and community service, but we don't know what our districts are going to look like. We're very concerned.
Can I ask you what community service you all are doing?
So there is a food drive that I volunteer at regularly. That's like the main one. And for Christmas, we did some things with toys for kids. And we did an event with the elderly where we had a huge dinner for the elderly. Right now, that's it. So the food drive every week, and then just doing little events here and there.
All right, awesome. I just want to go to the chat real quick. Give a shout out to PJ Holly Horn, PJ Neat, Alan Amberster is in the building, and PJ Chris is in the building as well. Much love to y'all, and Kyle Johnson. Much love to you all. And I already said what's up to my guys. So if you want to see their updates, go to the pre-show. After the show, we can start the show, the whole recording over. But I'm so excited to get the show on the road. So we just talked about Biden and his crazy comment, but I just want to go through a couple of tweets, some fun tweets real quick. So this is a interesting tweet or video.
That's creepy.
Right. It's pretty creepy, but this is like the future. So this is a robot. This is an actual robot that is showing human emotions. And it's going to be scary. We've seen those dog robots, like that the police has a dog robot now, and they're like looking just like a real dog. But this is what's coming in the future. And let me know if anybody has any comments.
What is that first emotion that keeps coming? What is he doing there?
I don't know. It's
I don't know. I'm going to make that a GIF, and every time my governor speak, I'm just going to put that in there.
Every time your governor speaks, you're going to put that there? Oh, wow.
I was going to say that sounds like me whenever I'm listening to a Biden speech.
It's kind of scary. That's why I brought this up. It's like it's got 26 million views already, so it's pretty scary that this is where the world is going right now. All right. So let's go to Carlito's rundown, which is the articles. He's not here right now, so this is going to be Carlito's rapid fire, really. We're just going to go through these articles and going to just have some discussion points on them. All right. So here's the first one. Book bans in schools are catching fire. Black authors say uproar isn't about the students. So I'm going to go to Ali, who has a personal experience with the book bans in her area.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it before.
Yeah.
So one of the things I do is I go to the school board meetings, and to find out what's going on. And at one of the school board meetings we had a couple months ago, I was a little bit taken aback because there was this huge protest, this huge group of protesters. This was before the November 2nd election where we elected Glenn Youngkin, and they were holding signs about, get pornography out of our schools, and parents need to decide what our kids read, and all these other things. And I was like, pornography in the schools, man, my kids have been in Fairfax County schools for, since 2004 or something. Pornography, what is this? Anyway, come to find out that these parents are all upset because there are two graphic novels that some woman in one of the schools, her child brought home, and she freaked out. One was Lawn Boy and the other was Genderqueer. And they're both coming of age stories for, homosexuals, for people who are trying to find their sexual identity. Again, they're graphic novels. I did look at them both. There's nothing pornographic about either of them, but
Wow.
People they were really upset. They were hostile. They were angry. They were yelling. The next school board meeting, there were armed guards because there was such a fear that this thing was going to continue. And of course, there's also been the push, like the article references, we've also had a push in the Fairfax County schools about not having Maya Angelou and other Black authors because somehow that's part of this critical race theory, whatever. And but the bottom line comes down to, I think, people equating their own prejudices with freedom, even though it's the exact opposite.
Yeah,
and
100%.
enforcing that on their kids.
100%. Here's PJ Chris said, DeSantis wants to put cameras in class to watch the teachers. My cousin quit her job as a teacher in Lee County this past year because of parents being stupid. And I think PJ Chris is in Florida, right, Gabe? I believe she's in Florida also.
Yeah. You're gonna see a lot of that in Virginia. We're gonna lose a lot of teachers. Just because of like I said earlier in the pre-show, if you want to follow what 2022 election is going to look like, how Republicans are going to govern, just pay close attention to how Virginia is going to go. And this is day one. The executive orders I be putting is like basically telling teachers what to do and saying, it's basically being a bully, basically saying, whatever school county doesn't follow this executive order, we're going to take resources away from you. And so just follow that. It will be very interesting to see how Virginia goes in the next 4 years.
Do you think your governor has higher aspirations to be president?
I don't know. He has no clue. He's never been in politics. And if day one is telling anything, he's definitely started at a bad, like he basically declared war on the school system. Like he basically, you can't go on that. And the things that he just, he's like, Virginia closed all these businesses, which was a lie. Virginia never really closed. Virginia is like one of those, like the best states there is for business, talks about that. He said it's one of the worst, again, like we talked about this before. If the Democrats would have ran a campaign on actually all the good things that they accomplished, they would have won. Instead, they ran a campaign on, Trump is bad, and they lost for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than that, though, right? Because, like, Youngkin ran a slick campaign, right? So here's Youngkin's campaign. I'm a guy who started a small business with a couple friends, and we did really well. And now I'm a successful businessman. And I'm in my sweater vest with my multicultural group behind me. And as I hold this gallon of milk, moms shouldn't have to pay 4% extra on their gallon of milk. So I'm going to get rid of the food tax in Virginia. Everybody's going to vote for him. What he doesn't say, he started the Carlisle Group. He's the biggest like billionaire ever. He put $75 million of his own money into the thing. He's already said he is going to overturn a woman's right to choose in Virginia. He's already pulled us out of the greenhouse gas emissions agreements. He has, and we're going to talk about this later, but he's already put out an executive order saying that that state employees do not have to be vaccinated. We do not have to wear masks in schools. He fired the group that has been running that's been fighting human trafficking, which has actually been very successful, and said he's going to do it internally because he thinks they can do it better. And he's already talking about banning inappropriate materials in school, whatever that means. I'm not really sure what that means. So, you know,
he also reversed the LGBT community. He reversed that. They try to ban, which is failed in the House. They try to ban the minimum wage increase for next year. So, like Virginia passed that every year will increase $1 into 2025. He tried to ban that. So
what?
He said
Virginia's open for business, and all of these things are anti-business.
Yeah.
And Virginia is open for business, you know. And he also said kids are the most important thing, which is why parents should decide what to do with the kids, and we shouldn't, you know, force them to have all these government regulations because, you know, health and safety. That's not government's responsibility.
That's just day one. So
that was day one.
Yeah.
He did this all. Yeah. That's all on day one. And in terms of your question, Case, about presidential aspirations, it would not surprise me, having watched Trump and being like, oh my God, you mean a businessman with no political experience can actually do this? So it would not surprise me if he teamed up with DeSantis or, you know, maybe if I don't know what Trump's doing, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had long-term goals for higher office. He likes it.
I think
in terms of advertising.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's how it goes. People like self-censored and like they usually see themselves as president and then they strategize how to get there. So he's thinking like the governor might be that step to get to that next level. So let's keep it moving, and I'll bring up this next article. Virginia Beach police used fake DNA results during interrogations. Attorney General investigations fine. So I mean, I just had to let everyone know in the chat and on the panel about this. It's crazy that they're going to this extent of using fake DNA results during interrogation. Is absolutely nuts. The next one is students walk out.
Hold on real quick on that one. Don't talk to the police ever. They're interrogating you. Don't talk. Just never talk. They're asking you anything. I was pulled over the other day, and luckily I got a really nice police officer. But even just overall, he goes, I pulled you over for speeding. And I was like, okay. I didn't go, oh, I'm sorry, officer. Oh man, I didn't notice. I didn't just okay. And then he looked, I didn't have any speeding tickets. He let me off. You know, good guy. But you know, it's just don't admit guilt. Don't talk. You know, don't talk as much as you can. If they ask you a question, don't talk. Police are allowed to lie in interrogations to get you to solicit a confession. They can say anything. They can say, oh, the other guy's talking right now. You want to talk first? Do you want to do that? They're allowed to lie to you in order to get you to say anything. And how many people have, have confessed to something they didn't do because they're worried about the consequences being worse if they try to go to trial. So don't talk to police. Please get your attorney.
100% right there. Advice from the big man Gabe. All right. The next article says students walk out over COVID-19 in-person learning conditions in schools. So I'm going to go back to Ali. Yeah, right. Yep. I'm going to go back to Ali. I know you wanted to say something on this.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on this briefly a minute ago, but with the new governor's executive orders, you know, I have a daughter who's a senior in high school and a son who substitute teaches in the Fairfax County school system because there's a huge shortage of teachers right now. Many are out with COVID. And, you know, the social media posts for my daughter's classmates, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of kids who are not going to be wearing masks, even though Fairfax County schools still requires mask wearing. They're like, no, Youngkin's my governor, and he says I don't have to wear one. I'm not wearing a mask. They can't make me. And so they're going to go to school. They're not going to wear masks. My son was asked to substitute, and had to turn it down because, you know, I have a mother who is coming to stay with us, and she's 85 and she has advanced COPD. She's just getting out of, full-time medical care. And even though we may not get sick because we're fully vaxxed and boosted, there's plenty of breakthrough, and even a minor infection can be fatal for her. And I think this is hugely short-sighted for the school systems around the country to try and ease restrictions, because, you know, just because your child isn't getting sick doesn't mean that your child isn't going to be a carrier and give that infection to someone who could literally die, who's immunocompromised, who's older, who whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to
100%.
piggyback off of that, if I can.
Mhm.
So I've been substitute teaching also recently, since October. Actually, it was supposed to be temporary, and I just seem to just still be there. And when we came back from Christmas vacation, we were only back for one day. We had to shut the entire school down and go virtual. Mind you, I teach at a school that is pre-K all the way to 8th grade. So we had to go virtual because there were too many teachers that were infected. They didn't have enough substitutes to teach the classes. And then come to find out, there were so many students that were infected. So we have been in virtual learning for 2 weeks. We go back tomorrow, but it has been a pain. Now, the thing that frustrates me is we're the only school that did it. We had to do it, but all the other schools just dealt with it, and they went back. And students are missing work. They don't even give them the option to learn virtually if they're sick, so they're behind. The 8th grade class that I'm teaching, I teach math and science right now, they're a whole chapter behind because they have had to quarantine almost like 3 times since starting the school year. We need a better solution, and we need governors that actually care about what's happening.
Yeah, definitely 100%. 100%. Anybody else want to say anything about that? That was great to have first on-hand experience from a teacher to let us know what's going on.
And as a parent too, in Miami, we were very lucky that we chose to do virtual school this year for the whole year. We're in the Miami virtual school, like first year pilot, and it's been okay so far. And we're very privileged that we're able to do it. I know that there's a lot of working families that don't have that privilege, so we're just taking advantage of it as much as we can. And knock on wood, we've been unaffected during this. And I think it's a case study, no pun intended, for doing more virtual school learning as an option overall, and letting more people know about it. A lot of people didn't even know that there was a Miami virtual option this year, and that's our local school now. We're not in the school, we are in the Miami virtual school. That's the school my kids go to. So it's
I didn't know that was an option,
and you're a teacher.
I'm learning it as you're saying this right now.
Yeah. Yep.
So the thing about virtual learning is it's definitely an excellent option, and it's definitely healthier, but it's not without consequences, right? So we had virtual learning all last year here in Virginia, and there were mental health issues that a lot of the teens suffered, because especially when you're in high school, that socialization and interaction is a huge part of it. And in the lower grades, that's where they actually learn how to socialize. So there's the concern that a lot of these kids who are in their sort of kindergarten to 3rd grade stage aren't going to know how to interact with people. They're not going to know how to be socially adept. And the other thing is, in looking at actual learning outcomes, which they've done, they found that for most courses, there was, different levels. For English, it didn't seem to matter much at all. History, for the sciences, it was a little bit of a lower learning curve, but there was a 0 improvement in math. Like, virtual math learning didn't work for whatever reason. It just didn't work. So, virtual learning is an excellent choice over going into a school that you're going to be sick in. But it's not ideal. We're not there yet. And maybe it's because we're not good enough at it. I don't know. But I really, really just hope we can find a solution where we can get kids back in school without the risk of being sick.
I think there's too many distractions, to be honest. Oh, sorry, if you want to.
No. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of distractions because the 6th grade class that I teach math and science to, they were virtual all last year. That was their 5th grade year. So they entered into middle school, and they are a special group of children, and they do not know how to interact with people. They are, so I see where you're going with this, Ali, because I see it firsthand. I'm like, do these kids not know how to behave in a classroom setting, or to talk to each other? It is really insane. You don't see that with the other kids that were in middle school prior to going virtual. So
Wow.
Yeah, but I think we have to also find some type of solution. But my nephews, I have nephews that they go to school in Connecticut, for example, right? They both got affected with COVID. The school system told them you can't return for 21 days, and there was no virtual option. So if you're out of school for 2 weeks, right, and there's nothing, you're already behind. So there's got to find a way or some type of solutions that says there's that virtual option. If we're trying to get you back in school, but if one kid needs to stay home, right? They tell us right now, you got a cough. Like if my daughter gets a cough, I don't send her to school, right? Because they automatically don't want to send her there. So if that happens, if she has a cough for 3 days, there has to be some type of solutions that the school system comes out and say, okay, well, this class is following that virtual class, or this session is virtual, you could pick up on it and you will not be left behind. And that's what's happening. A lot of kids are being told to stay home for 2 weeks and nothing is given to them. So they completely are, by the time they get back to the classroom, they are 2 weeks behind from all the other students.
Yeah, interesting. And I want to give a perspective from a father that has 2 special needs kids. Both my children are on the autism spectrum, 9 and 11. And when they are home, now the situation I'm in, my wife works from 9 to let's say 5:30, and then I work at night. So I work from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Then I have to go home to watch my kids. If they're home remote, I have to go home to watch them. And if they're remote, I have to go to their class and sit down because they're, autistic, nonverbal. I have to kind of be participating in with the teacher, my child, and me. And I'll interact with the teacher when the child is doing the appropriate things. So I have to stay up, right? But then I think about, if I didn't have a job where I work at night and I had to work 9 to 5, who would be here to even teach, to participate and help my children do the remote? So even though I'm not I wouldn't get a lot of sleep, and man, don't even remind me. I have like PTSD to going back to those months when they were just working remote. And then occasionally, I think like maybe 2 weeks ago, for the whole week they were home. It really sucks because I literally get like maybe 3 hours sleep a night when that happens. But I'd rather that happen than they don't have any schooling, period. And I can't imagine those parents that they don't have that option. So
yeah, virtual school is definitely a privileged thing where it's more like a homeschool, where the parents have to be involved. If the parents are just like stay in front of the computer and just go there and do your work, the kids are going to fall behind. I find that we're having to work triple or quadruple as hard as when they were in in-person school. They did all their work in the classroom, but now it's like up to us to follow up on lessons, and it's not easy, but it's definitely, it puts so much burden on the parents compared to in-person school. So I think John touched on it before. We have to find what's the right balance, and Ali touched on it too. Is what's the right balance of safety versus socialization? And you would think after 2 years we would have it, but we still are getting there.
Still don't have it. All right, I'm gonna go to the chat real quick, and then we're gonna move on. And I saw, all right, yeah, Alan and PJ Neat said, would parents accept a NBA bubble type of situation of schooling? I don't know what that would even look like, but and then here's PJ Chris said, unfortunately, there are too many parents who are not able to handle social interactions, and their kids are the ones most likely to need the skills the most. All right, so let's move on. I got a funny video that I'm going to bring up. I want us to watch and check this out. Take this off. Boom. All right. And this is from the great work of More Perfect Union. That's the Twitter account. And I believe that's Fast Secure, who was the Bernie Sanders campaign manager. I think after that 2020 campaign, he started this organization, and they're doing some great investigation work and some great work.
Okay. Hey, I'd like to buy this bread. For sure, that'll be $2,000. Did you say $2,000? Yeah, I'm so sorry though, like you have no idea. Why did the price go up? It's not my fault, bro. This pandemic has been so hard on my business. Like, I can barely afford to pay my workers. Yeah, you're definitely not paying me enough. Okay, so this bread costs more because you need the money to pay your workers? Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. You're fired. I'm sorry, what? Did you just fire him? I thought you were going to give him the money. Yeah, this pandemic's been so hard. Like, I can't afford to pay him. But you're actually making more money right now. Oh, yeah, this is the most profitable year I've ever had. So you didn't need to raise the prices. No, but I can, though. Isn't that cool? No. Also, $3,000 for bread now. Dude, I can't afford that. Same. Oh, if you guys need help, I can, like, give you some money. Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Whoa, no, you can't give them money. Why can't I give them money? Inflation, bro. If everyone has more money, then there'll be too many people trying to buy bread, and the price of bread will go up. That's why it's so high right now. Wow, yeah. No, he's making it that high. I have no idea what you're talking about, okay? Hey, I'd like to buy this bread. For sure, that'll be $2,000.
So that was what you guys thought about that. It's talking about inflation.
That's
and
brilliant.
Right?
That's brilliant. I love that.
I had sent out an article in a separate chat that we have that said that the world's 10 richest men saw their wealth double during the COVID pandemic. So if you total all their wealth together, the top 10, they've seen their wealth double over this pandemic, while the rest of us have done nothing but suffer. So that video is the perfect analogy for this. I mean, it just goes to show that all these tactics that these people are using to, raise prices and create this inflation. I mean, it's just, they're clearly profiting. I mean, it shows in their pockets, and while the rest of us are just barely scraping by. It
makes me think of the housing crisis right now. A 2-bedroom apartment is almost like $3,500. Like, it's insane for 2 bedrooms.
Wow,
that's
crazy.
What's minimum wage?
Yeah.
We just raised it to $10.
Wow, awesome. $10. Like, you probably need like 5 people living in there. 3 people in the living room, and doubling up just to stay there.
And they will tell you you can't pay them enough, because then we will not be able to afford anything, and it's going to be the consumer, and it's the tactic that they use is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. So here, and I saw somebody mentioned it in the chat, that Brooklyn Tech also. So here it says hundreds of kids walked out of Brooklyn Tech today to protest continuation of in-person school during the Omicron wave and to call for a remote option. That was January 11th. So there's another example of that. And then this is also New York. 3 Rikers detainees called in live from jail today, and the stories they told Brian would shock you. Defecating in bags, officers ignoring fights because of their own safety, lack of food, untreated broken bones, and I'm sure there's many more. So, Izzy, I know you're in New York, but they've been trying to close down Rikers Island for a while now, right, Izzy?
So for years, and the thing is, obviously we had issues under de Blasio. There's no doubt about that. Like, this was a major problem under de Blasio. Unfortunately, not a lot has changed. Every mayor seems to run on let's close Rikers Island, and then it never happens. But if those are the types of issues we were struggling with even during de Blasio, now under Eric Adams, the cop, I mean, I feel hopeless for these people in these jails, because I have no idea how that type of situation is ever going to get resolved by this mayor.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to show this video, and it might be too techie. The nerd in me thought this would be interesting. So Izzy, I definitely want your opinion on this, because you're one of my IT guys on the panel as well. So I'm going to play this video. And it's 3 minutes, but I'm hoping that I'm going to cut it off at some point. But once we get the gist of this video,
them on repositories like
we start it over.
Also in Washington, executives from Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, and other tech companies met with White House officials to talk about cybersecurity. In particular, an incident from last month that sent shockwaves through the national security community. Bloomberg's Jack Gillum with us now for more. Talk to us about why the White House held this meeting and what do we know about the outcomes?
So if you remember a few weeks ago, Emily, there was this Log4j, this sort of weird piece of software nobody had really heard of in the mainstream, that essentially had this massive security flaw that flaw that affected probably untold millions of systems around the world. And that really drew attention to this nature of what's called open source software code that's available, for free for the public to use, to modify. You see them on repositories like GitHub, where coders can freely add their changes. What White House officials, really the US government, is really concerned about is the fact that this code may not be as secure as people think. The idea that everybody in the world can log in and collaborate and fix these things, it may not be as secure as you think it is.
All right, so Izzy, what do you think about that comment? Do you have any anything to say?
All I'm hearing from that is, when you use open source software, especially if you encrypt your data, it's harder for the government to get access to it. So therefore, we should stop doing that so the government can get more access to your data. That's all I'm hearing from that 100%.
Yeah.
Like, you think about Signal, right? We use Signal. It's open source. It's encrypted, and they do not like that at all. So that's
control. They want to know what we're saying, what we're doing, who we're sharing with. They want control.
Exactly. That's all I hear.
Not even that. All I heard, I on top of that, all I heard was the minute they listed all those companies, all I heard was like, wait, you giving people an ability to do all these things for free? That's gonna cost my profit margin. So
that's a great point.
We're gonna go into this whole cybersecurity, try to put like fear on people, say it's not as secure. So we don't want to go. There's tons of company out there that they will get you in a license deal, and it's like they'll charge you per users, and they make bank. And you could go to open source and get it for free and do the same amount of work. So
the other thing that I noticed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing that I noticed was that the guys from Bloomberg, first of all, right, financial stuff, and all the companies are companies that advertise heavily. So if you're on something like Signal, there's no advertising, right? So how are they going to make money from you using that software? They can't make money from it. That's
no data of yours
a big issue. Some Bloomberg guy saying we can't make money from this. So
that's when I clipped that. That's the reason why I clipped it mainly was that they saw this open source technology as competition, and then they're trying to throw trash on it or throw shade on it. And the thing about open source technology is that anyone can see the code. So if anything, it's the most secure technology because anyone and everyone has it. We have 7 billion people on Earth. 7 billion people can look at the code, scrutinize it, and say, "Oh, there's an error here. We need to fix it." Then they update it, and then it's more secure than if you had any of these Microsoft or they might have 1,000 employees looking at it, but they can make mistakes and etc. And like I said, open source is free, so I think that's what the main thing they're trying to scaremonger about this whole thing. All right. So let's go on.
Before you go on,
go ahead.
That's what's wrong with our entire system, right? That's what's wrong with our entire political system. Everything is profit based. Rape the environment, we can make a buck. Put up these crappy politicians because we can make a buck. Get rid of open source free technology because we can make a buck. And continuing to put profits over everything, over the health of people, over their families, over their security. We go to war because people make money going to war, not because there's a need to go to war. I mean, war is a last resort. You know what I'm saying? And the wars that we get into, they're all profit driven. And I feel like this is at the root. And it's cliche, right? Money is the root of all evil. But it genuinely is at the core of what is just rotten and wrong with everything that's going on. And of course, it's why people like me and Christine are running, right? Because we want to change that system. We want to put people over profits. We want to put the environment over profits, education over profits, healthcare over profits.
Yes.
And it's just so frustrating that people can get away with putting something out there. This Bloomberg guy comes on and he's like, I am telling news. I am telling the truth. And this is what it is. It's not news and it's not truth. And it should be not branded as news or truth. There should be some sort of way that we can say, this is entertainment. This is opinion. This is not fact based.
Yes,
and it's just
I want to
Go ahead.
piggyback off of that and just say one quick thing. The United States of America is just missing 3 little letters, INC. Okay, the United States of America Incorporated. We are a business. We are a corporation. We are not a country. Everything is about money. How can we make money? The way that things are going right now with COVID and all these different, between the vaccines and the testing sites and all this stuff, this is a business. Obviously, we have a health concern, a major health concern, but people are making money. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we have a real thing going on, but let's capitalize on that. Everything is like, how can we make a buck? People are dying. How do we make a buck out of that? It's so disgusting. And I mean, I'm not going to speak for our founding fathers, but I know that the natives of this country who built this country, and I'm talking about our indigenous brothers and sisters that built this country on brotherhood and sisterhood and sharing medicine and loving our planet. They are probably looking at what we have done and just literally feeling disgusted as I do. So yeah, United States of America Incorporated.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you notice, like, why didn't they invite somebody from GitHub? Why didn't they invite somebody from the open source community to be part of that meeting, right? Because if you're going to say, oh, they have all this security issue with it, why they only have those 6 big companies to go to the White House and they don't have nobody else? So they couldn't even make it no obvious. Anyone that has like common sense will know that this is just profit driven.
Yeah. And I'm hoping this going to be people might not be that knowledgeable about it, but because they're doing it for a reason. Propaganda works. Propaganda, unfortunately, does work. The only thing that can beat propaganda is counter propaganda, which is what we're trying to do right here, talking about this subject. And since Ali brought up the profit motive, I want to bring up this tweet real quick here. Bendo, you could thank you so much. So basically, this is a COVID test home collection kit for $124.99. Who got time for that? Who got money for that?
That's nothing. They're selling for $150. Like the $124, that's a discount. They're selling it for $150 out here.
Oh man.
Is that the rapid one though?
Let me see. COVID test home collection kit. I don't know if it's a rapid or what, but I thought it was going to be free. Okay.
I'll be interested to see what happens here in Virginia, because under Ralph Northam, COVID tests have been costing anywhere from $10 to $15, and now that Glenn Youngkin's in, let's see what happens to the cost of COVID tests.
Yeah, I think that the Biden is finally rolling out a website that you can order 4 to 5 kits per household or a certain amount. So hopefully that's at the federal level. So hopefully that should be the option that everybody would use. But
if I'm a betting man, I guarantee that site crashing and you're not gonna be able to like do anything for like a week. They're gonna tell you that
use open source technology.
They're gonna tell you that the site is the 19th, right? The 19th is when they're gonna start it. So we'll see what they're gonna say.
We'll see what happens.
They'll say run out, supply chain, and then people are gonna wait for it for months.
All right. The first no calzone question: should progressives claim the word moderate? And I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that. So basically, Kyle Kulinski had an idea that progressives should try to claim the word moderate because our values and our policies are popular. They're like, Medicare for all, 70%, etc., free college, and you could go down the line, right? So he was saying, like, we're the true moderates. And he was even saying that maybe Bernie Sanders should have tried to reclaim that word during the campaign, because they were always trying to paint him as extreme and, socialist and all this stuff. And so I wanted to know, and please be free to disagree or agree. That's the whole point of no calzone, no cancel zone. So who wants to jump in first?
I want to jump in. Sorry, let me dive in. When I first heard the question, I'm like cringing, right? But as you were reading it just now, I said, hold on a second. They infiltrated the word progressive. They literally took that over. My opponent is nowhere near a progressive, but runs around saying, I'm a progressive, I'm a progressive. So you know what? I like that idea. Right now, if you go around saying that you're a progressive, you get looked down on anyway. When I send out fundraising texts, they're like, oh, I'm not donating to you. You're another do-nothing progressive. So if we take over the word moderate, we may have a better chance at winning. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling it.
Interesting. Ali, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, my thought is I'm not big on labels. I don't like the labels. I really don't. I think personally, the policies that I have are quite moderate. I think offering someone guaranteed health care or a guaranteed high quality pre-K education for their kids or trying to keep the planet from imploding is actually a pretty moderate thing to do. You know, when I think of moderate, I don't counter it with progressive, I counter it with extreme, right? Moderate, extreme, you know, and in the environmental movement, for example, since that's where, you know, I spent 3 decades of my life, you know, moderate is trying to get things done in a collaborative way and move things forward to basically save the planet and, you know, everything that lives on it. Extremes are, you know, people who spike trees so that when loggers go and cut them, they're killed. They're, you know, decapitated and stuff. That's extreme. So I personally don't think of myself as extreme. I think of myself as very moderate. And also I face an opponent just like Christine's who says, I'm the progressive voice in Virginia who does not support climate action, who does not support universal health care, who does not support voting rights for all. So, you know, it's words, right? It's words. And I think that Kyle Kalinski's probably got a pretty good idea in terms of just taking back the nomenclature because people like to have labels for whatever reason.
I think it's about, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead.
I just want to make this point out, Coach, to you, John, that I think when you're running for office is about building coalitions, right? You would love to have a whole bunch of progressives vote for the progressives and they just win. But a lot of the times, and we saw with Bernie's campaign, I'll use that with his 2020 example, with all the different people that were running, you saw that he had a solid like 34%, 30-something% that it was just, he had that on lock. But we have to be able to figure out, okay, how can we peel off 5% from, and people might cringe at this, but the neoliberals, the liberals, even the conservative Democrats, like how can we pull a little, just like 1, 2, 3% from that side? And I think trying to say that or claiming the moderate term can kind of help with that. What you all thinking, John? I'll pass the mic to you.
I think we talked about this in the past, right? People, and I know Ali mentioned is like she's not big on label, but is what our society has come down to, right? And the progressive word we talked about is just bad. Like we gotta get rid of it because they infiltrated, they made it bad. They go, Fox News just say, oh, progressives are left, it's just socialism. They are tied it to that. So people are brainwashed to say, like, the minute they hear progressive, they're like, that's a socialist. So they're not going to, and they may be like people that actually agree with everything you're running on, but just because they completely messed that word up, like I agreed, we should start using the word moderate, or we should start, and even it doesn't matter, even if quote unquote we may not be moderate, we need to look at opportunities that we could do to win. Also, we got to educate our voters. The left, we always said, the left is the left worst enemy. We eat ourselves. Like if we automatically look and say, oh, their website doesn't say progressive, so automatically not going to vote for them. Like we have to start figuring it out. Like let's go and look at the policies. Like I don't care that your website doesn't say progressive, but if you have all these policies that I could get behind you, and those are the things that, you know, candidates need to start thinking about, because progressive, the word progressive is done. Like we got to find something else. Like it's just, it's bad to associate that with your campaign. That's just my take.
100%. And this is a good opportunity to plug the People's Gauntlet. Like if people did the People's Gauntlet, we'll know where they stand on the policies, and boom, that's it, and we'll be good to go. I'm trying to think. What else do
Well,
we
I
have?
think that's what Andrew Yang's trying to do with his Forward
Okay.
Party, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's part of what he's trying to do. He's trying to get away from sort of Republican, Democrat, progressive, conservative. He's trying to be like, this is the way forward party. We'll see how that goes. I've heard some people really like it. Some people really don't. I think it probably depends on whether like Andrew Yang or not. But
the problem with Andrew Yang is like he'll say things like that, and then the following he'll be like, I could get behind Biden Cheney ticket. That's like, and you're like what is wrong with you guys? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think I don't listen to anything that guy says. Yeah, I put him in I have put him in the Jimmy Dore, Joe Rogan category folder. Like, I just put him there.
You know what's funny? Jimmy Dore doesn't even agree with that, or with what's his name? So he's in the category, I think, by himself.
Yeah, he's made a number of pretty awkward statements.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
I want to take it a step further.
Please.
It's not just say that we're gonna, take over the worst interests, but I think that, or moderate, but attack those in the Democratic Party that say that they're centrist and they're really neoconservative. So people like Joe Manchin, you're not a centrist, you're not a moderate, you are a conservative masquerading as a centrist. And I think that we have to, if there's some people we need to take it back from, is at least from them and say, I'm sorry, you are an extremist. When you're holding up the entire country's agenda, you're an extremist, and we should call you that. And I think that that's really, how we can attack that.
Yeah, I really like the distinction that Ali made because, at first when you were asking the question, Case, I'm like, but if we're moderates, then what's to the left of us? You know what I mean? Like, that's how I was thinking of it. But when Ali made the distinction, no, we're not talking about left, right. We're talking about moderate or extremist, regardless of whichever side you're on. I really like that framing. I really like that because I'm not for leftist extremists either. I'm very far left. I always say I might be one of the furthest left on this panel, but I'm not for extremists. I'm not for people who are looking to become extremely violent or do, really destructive things to get their point across. So yeah, I just wanted to say I really like that framing out there. That made me on board with this calzone.
Okay, cool. All right. Any last words?
It's a calzone where we all agree. This is rare.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on straight to the next calzone. Should progressives try to court the mainstream media? So I'll give an example of this is when, AOC when she went on Morning Joe and she's buddying up with them. And she also was on The View and she calls Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear. That's the most famous one that everybody knocks her for. But the thing is, if she's building these relationships, let's say she runs for a higher office or whatever that they need her, they're going to be less inclined to be so vitriol, or she might have enough clout with them that they won't paint her in a certain light. Or maybe I'm wrong. So that's why I'm throwing this question out there. What do y'all think about this?
Here I go again. I want to jump in.
Go ahead. Jump right in.
So I believe that it all depends on the voters, right? When you are courting any media, where do your voters go? And sadly, it is mainstream media. So I think it's an excellent tactic as far as getting your voters to recognize you. The average voter in my district, they're watching Morning Joe. They're watching Joy Reid. They're watching all of these shows. So they want to see me on there. They're not watching, indie media and things like that. They're just not. So it depends on who do you want to go cast that ballot. Do you want someone that is not even in your district and they're the ones that's watching indie media, or do you want to get people in your district that are actually going to vote for you? So
yeah,
I think that's a really good point. And I think I would like to add on to that in terms of media, my personal thought is you should try to get your message in front of anyone who's willing to let you share it. The problem comes when people change their messaging based on who they're talking to. And I think that's a problem regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, because your messaging you may tweak it so that if you're talking to an audience that cares more about, childcare versus the environment, then you focus on those. But what your positions are and where you stand on them should never, ever change, right? Unless there's new information and you're learning something new, and then you evolve your position based on actual factual things that you're learning that you didn't know before. With that one minor, narrow exception, your position should never change regardless of where you're appearing. If you're on Fox News or OAN or MSNBC or CNN or right here on QBK Studies, what you believe and what you put forward should be consistent. So it shouldn't matter whether you're on Morning Joe or whatever. And Christine's point about trying to get in front of voters, trying to get in front of as many people, because the fact is that as challengers, regardless of whether you're, progressive or whatever you want, regardless, challengers have a huge uphill battle. And the biggest problem is just simply name recognition. Nobody knows who you are because the incumbent's been in there for 412 years. So, I'm a big believer in trying to absolutely get your message across to anyone who wants to listen. I will talk with anybody who wants to talk with me, So I think that's and then if they don't like me, fine, don't vote for me, right?
Yeah, 100%. Let me just shout out. One second, John. Let me just shout out our guy Carlos. He's been in the chat for a minute. He's usually on the show doing Carlito's rundown, but he's in the chat and he said, let me just put it up real quick. The problem is not us embracing MSM, is MSM doesn't embrace us. Okay, go ahead, John.
And that's what goes back to the previous topic we're talking about. We got to go in when they bring us and say, "Oh, we're bringing in this progressive candidate." Let me stop you here. Let me show you. I'm actually a moderate. Let me tell you what moderate stands for. And then you go right through the policy. So that's what the voters are listening to, because the media does a good job. They bring these people in, but they call you progressive 100 times because they already know that word has, some bad association to it. So even, they're giving you the time and they bring you in, and they continue to just pound on that. So whoever's in there has to go back and give them and say, let me tell you, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is my policy, and try to get away from those labels. Go ahead, Gabe.
100%. I was going to say, so how I like to take it up a notch. So we're talking a lot about MSNBC, Ali for a second touched on Fox News. Do we as progressives go on Fox News if the opportunity presents itself? That is the taking the calzone to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd go on Fox 100%. I'd go on Fox, and I would entertain them. Like I would go on Fox. They'd want to call me back. They'd be like, "This girl was real heated." Yeah, absolutely. We can't shy away from challenges, and that could be a viral moment. No offense, a lot of things go viral on Fox, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, and it goes back. We talked about this, and even if we get 5% of those voters, that's 5% you have. Like I have told you, I live in Virginia. I have people nearby that they voted for Trump. They do that, and you start talking to them about policy, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. We should have." And I'm like, "Why are we not talking to these people?"
That's a really good point, though, John. Right? Because I do talk to those people. Right? There are progressive Republicans, and we disagree on a few things, but we agree on a lot of things. And I think it would be great if we could start getting people on, even if they're Republican progressives, if they could come on Fox News or whatever, because, it's trying. Here's the thing, right? Like whatever we're calling ourselves, we are people's candidates, right? We're candidates who are trying to help people over corporations, over corporate interest and profit, right? We want to have health care. We want to have child care. We want to save the planet. We want to have universal voting. All of the whole list of things, right? And maybe we disagree. Some person thinks we should have UBI. Some person doesn't think we should have UBI, whatever. But if you take the core of it, the core, whatever percent, 80%, 90%, most people want these things. They want clean air. They want clean water. They want their kids to have a safe environment to grow up in. They want their kids to get a good education. They want their parents to be cared for. Case and I were talking earlier about the need for elder care. These are things. No one should have to choose whether or not to buy prescriptions one month or food. That is not a conversation any family should be forced to have, regardless of your political persuasions. And I really think that if we can reach out and just talk to people about being humans, that we will really finally start getting it, because it's the people like this Bloomberg guy with the open source stuff. It's all of these people who have their own private interests, who are trying to bend and merge and morph and really make the conversation screwy, that we need to get rid of.
100%. Oh man, time has flown. I didn't even get a chance to ask Christine about Sheila's campaign. Marianne Williamson.
Drop your website.
Really quickly, because
Yeah.
Ali just said something that actually ties into Sheila's campaign.
Okay, please.
You mentioned maybe some candidates may want UBI, maybe not. Sheila ran on UBI. Sheila won on UBI.
UBI.
That was her entire platform, and she won on UBI. So for those candidates that are thinking, oh, this is so far-fetched, nobody would ever go for it, the people want it. And that's all I gotta say about that.
And she was in Florida, right? Florida?
Yes, in Florida, and she called it the prosperity plan. Sheila went hard for this prosperity plan. She ran on the things that were important to people. If you talk to people in the district about certain things, and I don't want to touch on those specific subjects, I don't want people to think that they don't care about all these things, but there are specific things in our districts, and Sheila and my districts are very similar. There's a high poverty rate. And so the most important thing is, how can we get money to keep a roof over our head and food on the table? And so Sheila saw that, and she created the prosperity plan, and she ran on it, and it was all about UBI. And that was one of the main reasons why she won. And everyone's like, oh, it's so gimmicky. No, it's not gimmicky, because now you need to vote for Christine Olivo so that I can be a voting block with her, and we can get UBI. So
So PJ Chris, who's in Florida, help a sister out. She could use any help that you can get. My man Gabe, anything that you can get. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We had so much fun. Hope you all had fun.
Yeah. Case real quick. Just I know we have like 2 minutes. Should give it to Ali and Christine so they could drop their website, how to support them, donate to their campaign. So we could use the last minute just for that.
Yeah, so Ali first, please go ahead and let us know how we can support
Yeah,
you.
my website is Ally for Congress, ALLYFOR Congress. I would love to have folks. Thank you for popping that up. Please, check us out. And we are at Ally for Congress on Twitter. You can follow us. Would love some donations, volunteers, sharing us on social media. That'd be awesome. Thank you for this opportunity.
Of course, Christine.
Thank you so much. You can go to www.christineforcongress.org and you can donate there. You can volunteer. We've got a lot happening as soon as we know what district we're going to be in. But for right now, donate, help send out texts. We need all the help we can get. We are grassroots and we don't take any money from corporations. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hope we can have you all on again. And I love having both of y'all on. So we definitely got to make that arrangement if y'all come on again. And Bendone, Izzy, we got everybody, Gabe. And let me give a shout out to our Patreon, Nancy Vancher, Pedro Hernandez, Deborah B, PJ Chris, Akabash Akita, who upped their amount this past week. So I appreciate that, Akabash. And let's end the show. Thank y'all for coming on. We love y'all. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Yes, stay safe. Bye-bye.